All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of whatever this is called, talking to people about Palantir, which is what we've done on the channel for a long time. I'm here with Hayley. Hayley is a rather new person that I've seen in the Palantir community pop up. Awesome content, awesome videos, awesome analysis. She's from the UK, so she's a Brit.
I am.
Which means she's bloody obsessed with Palantir. Okay, that's what we've got. Do people say bloody like that in Britain? Is that a thing, or is that me?
Yeah, they do.
They do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I thought, right? Every time I say it, people are like, "Oh, you just." I'm like, no, that's what they say.
You're basically British.
I'm basically British. Honestly, I love the accent. Like, I think like people in the United States have like this weird idea around that accent. It's just like it speaks to us, maybe because it's the original English, right? And like we have this like, I'm from Texas nonsense. Like that's not sexy at all. It's just not, you know.
Do you know, I get a lot of comments on my videos saying that people love my voice. Like it's the #1 probably compliment I get. So I'll take it, but it's weird to hear because obviously people in the UK don't tell me they love my voice.
Right. People in the UK are just like speaking normally.
Yeah.
So you're from Britain. You're talking about Palantir, doing YouTube. You're on Twitter now. Her links are in the description for everyone who wants to check her out. And I wanted to have you on the channel because I think the community is growing, which is awesome. There's new people every day that are coming, creating content. And the thing about social media is that the opportunity is massive to talk about things that you love on the internet, which wasn't, reality 10, 15 years ago. And Palantir is one of those things that brings a lot of people together. And so we end up talking about it. So first, I want to discuss a little bit about you for like 10, 15 minutes. Then we'll get into Palantir. Who are you? Kind of what do you do for work? How'd you get into YouTube? You can just give me the rundown for you.
Just throw it all at you. Right. Okay.
Yep.
Let's
just
go.
Bloody throw it at me.
Well, you gave me quite a good introduction, actually. And when someone asks you to talk about yourself, you suddenly forget who you are. Like I'm now like, wait, what's my name? So Hayley, I'm from the UK. That's the basics. I work in resource project management.
Okay.
So actually, I mean, I'm jumping ahead of the gun here, right? But just off the bat, at my company, we've started using Snowflake, which is interesting. Now, I personally haven't seen much of it, so I can't comment, but I do think it's interesting anyhow. I work in resource management. I got into content creation for a few different reasons, but mainly it was because I'm a bit of a nerd like yourself. And I started becoming obsessed with all things investing before I even, got interested in Palantir and Tesla, which is the main two companies I speak about. And I just became so obsessed. And it got to the point where it's all I was researching and I just wanted to speak about it constantly. And you probably have the same in your own life. Like my friends and family, they don't want to hear me speak about investing all day, every day. Like they don't really care. Yeah. And because of that obsession and learning constantly, I wanted a place to share it with people that were also interested. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to start building a community, speaking about these things online and just seeing what the reaction was really. And then, enjoyed it and kept going. And you know what else as well? There's not many women that I've noticed, which is a real shame. So that as well pushed me. I was like, do you know what? I am going to do it. I'm going to speak about investing and all these stocks as a woman.
Yeah, I mean, that was also really cool to see because I think I saw your thumbnails maybe like a couple months ago start popping up. And I immediately clicked because I was like, well, first of all, it's someone different, right? It's a girl actually speaking about this. And there's just honestly not that many girls on social media. I mean, Twitter, there's a lot more, but on YouTube, like active, because YouTube's a grind. I mean, and you're getting into it. It's like not easy, right? No, but if you are able to build an audience, it's one of the most amazing things in the world because of all the things you can do. So, okay. So how long do you think has your investing journey been? Because I got into it around like 2019, but really started taking it seriously 2021 in terms of research, even though I sucked as an investor and I still suck as an investor. Do you think it's been like a couple of years of you like heavily learning about interest rates and like caring about that stuff?
Yeah. So I got into investing in back end of 2019, beginning of 2020. That's when I started investing into index funds. And that's primarily what it was at that point. I didn't know anything about individual stocks, didn't really know much at all, to be honest. I just knew that I wanted to start investing, and a quick Google told me that I should set up a Vanguard account, put it into an ETF, learn about what an ETF and an index fund is, how I can get all these companies. It's like a shopping basket. I can go around the shop and pick up all these different companies. Fantastic. Didn't need to do any research. Bob's your uncle, move on with your life. So I got into index funds. Then I quickly realized that actually my interest was a little bit more than that. I was like curious about these companies. Like, okay, I can see Apple is quite a big percentage of this S&P 500 fund. Let me find out a little bit more about them because I use Apple products every day. Why not? So it snowballed from there to the point where I was actually getting more interested in some individual stocks and different types of investing, that I didn't just want ETFs and index funds anymore. And I think quite a lot of people reach that level that get really into the nitty-gritty of like researching companies.
Yeah.
So then I started buying individual stocks. And I started buying mainly dividend stocks because I found that dividend investing was very motivating, seeing those dividends come in, reinvest in it, building your position that way. But I was never exactly like, okay, I'm going to invest in only dividend stocks. I was kind of like, I'm going to learn what I can, and I'm going to be okay with letting my investing style progress as I learn more.
Right.
Then I began investing into some more growth positions, mainly Tesla, Palantir. And then really since then, that's what I've become obsessed with learning about. And that's reflected in my portfolio.
I think I have a similar story, and I think a lot of people have a similar story. So from that, we can transition to Palantir. Obviously, you're investing in ETFs, and you want to know a little bit more about the companies. You find out there's a company called Palantir, and you start going into it. Can you walk me through that origination story of you becoming a cult member?
A cult member.
and what happened basically when you realized there, like, what was it? Was it Alex Karp? Was it Peter Thiel? Like, give me the gauntlet of when you found out about it, what forced you to keep going down the rabbit hole?
Yeah. Okay. It's not that much of an interesting story, but I'll take you back. So I was looking at my accounts yesterday or the day before because I was wondering when I first started investing into Palantir. It turns out that I purchased my first share in Palantir in November 21. So I think the stock was around like the $20 mark at that point, around that sort of price. And I didn't buy much at all. It was kind of like put £100 in, £100 worth in. And I don't really remember why I did that, if I'm honest. It must have been because I was hearing the stock being spoken about. I didn't know much about investing really. And it just, piqued my curiosity.
Right.
So that was kind of that, and that was done. And then I started properly getting involved in April this year. So it's not really been that long, but it's been since April that I built up my position more and more. And I think there's a few reasons. I remember driving with my friend, and I was just speaking about Palantir and just being a bit of a nerd, just saying, hey, look, did you know about this company? This is what they're doing. And when I was explaining it out loud to someone else, this was probably before I started making videos on it, it kind of clicked in my head that yes, they're a very polarizing company, right? People, we would say in the UK, they're like Marmite. You either love them or you hate them. They're very controversial. Me and yourself probably think they shouldn't really be that controversial, but whatever, they are, right, especially in the UK, which I guess we'll speak about later. And I think because of that, I was just interested, like, let me do my research and let me make my own mind up about this company. Because what I'm hearing is very interesting. And if what I'm hearing is true, then this could be a very good opportunity. And at that time, I was thinking, okay, I know I really want a position in Tesla, a big position, if I can, one day get it to that. But there's also this other company that are a little bit earlier on in their journey. And I think that there's quite a lot of similarities between Tesla and Palantir. So again, that got my interest. And I just researched it, and I'm very early on compared to you in my research, but very interesting.
The thing you started researching that in April that you were talking to your friends about that made you interesting, what were those couple of sentences you would say out loud that like your friend didn't care about? Because for me, I would be like, did you know they're going to be the modern operating system for the enterprise? And my friend would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'd be like,
yeah, like, can we go back to eating our burgers?
Yeah, like this is the most important thing in the world. So what was it, I guess, that were you just like, man, in healthcare, they're going to explode, energy, they're going to explode, AI, like what was that thing?
Yeah, and it's, what I'm about to say is still probably the reason that it's probably still my most bullish case for Palantir. And that is that their total addressable market and all the verticals that they are in and they are going to be in is absolutely huge. And there's not that many companies that you can really name that can get themselves into all of these different sectors.
Right.
And that just, to me, that makes them, it makes their growth potential incredibly large. Like, forget the government side of it just for a minute and just focus on the commercial side, which is obviously still, growing. It's not there yet. We're not a massive market cap company, whatever. But the idea that this piece of software, these pieces of software Palantir offer, it can be used by such a diverse range of industries. Like, that to me, when I was learning about it, right, when I was really like just understanding the fundamentals, it was kind of like, hang on a minute, they can be that useful in healthcare, but they can also be that useful in energy. They can be that useful in all of these different areas. So it was that, and that's still, a really bullish case for me. And then I liked on the government side and commercial side, I guess, is just how sticky the business was. What I mean by that is, once they're integrated in and they're offering value and all of this, you're probably not going to really want to get rid of them. And also it's difficult to, like, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of time to swap to someone else. Those two things originally was like getting me really pumped about it, because I was thinking, hang on a second, this is really interesting. This could really be a moat. And it's probably the same with you, right? When you first started learning.
That's actually exactly why I got into them. Yeah. In 2021, when I was just like, wait, they're going to be involved in this and this and this.
Like,
and
how,
this.
right?
Yeah. And I was just like, wait, how? Yeah, exactly. How is a piece of software involved in every single industry? Right. And then you look at the biggest software companies in the world, like a Salesforce or an Oracle, they're involved in every single industry in the world. And it's like, well, they offer some type of universal product that is valuable to every vertical. And so Palantir is doing it. And then you go deeper into the tech and be like, wait, they're doing it better than everybody else. And they're still at this market cap. Maybe there's an opportunity here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your origin story. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people either invested in Palantir because they did the research and they're like, holy crap, there's all these verticals, or they were like, oh my God, there's all these YouTubers talking about it. Let me just buy the stock. Same thing like Tesla, right? So how do you feel about the retail, I would call it obsession or excitement? Like, why do you think retail is so excited? Because you could give me a bull case for Palantir, be like, there's all these verticals they can grow. And I would be like, I don't know if that gets retail excited. Retail is like excited about this company. There's like what do you think causes people to want to make videos about them?
I think that the point that more and more videos have started appearing has been the point at which people have seen the hype and the push for AI in general.
Yep.
And then when you see, right, okay, backtracking. In terms of AI, Palantir have been involved in AI for many, many years. It's only since there's been this crazy AI push that people have noticed that Palantir actually do this stuff, right?
Right.
And I think at that point, people are getting excited, because when you've got this area of interest, we'll call it hype, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So I don't think it's hype as in a hype train that's going to then pass.
Right.
People are thinking, okay, this is the new thing. How do I make money here? Because at the end of the day, we're all investors. We want to make money, right? And then you look to see which companies are actually becoming the most valuable in that area. And I think Palantir are one of them. And I think that's why people and retail investors are getting really excited, because you can see that they're one of the AI companies. And then you look into it a little bit deeper, and then you start seeing everything else they're doing. So I think it's when people have realized that they are an AI company and they're not a consultancy firm, which me and you have probably heard a lot of times, then you start getting more and more excited.
Okay, before we talk about your beautiful NHS system.
Let's do that.
That's I'm very curious to hear about your NHS system. But before that, what do you think about Alex Karp?
I like him. I really like him. I think he's one of these people that are just so eccentric. And I think that he seems to have the right intentions. I think when it comes to a company like Palantir, you've got to have someone that is able to not really care what people think.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care what other people think. And that reminds me a lot of Elon Musk. That's why I was saying there's some similarities. This is a founder-led business, blah, 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 blah. And I do think he can be a bit confusing. I tell you what, Amit, when I was first learning about Palantir, and this happens even still some days now, I'll watch an interview by Alex Karp, and most of what he says, it's a bit confusing, right? Especially for a beginner.
Yep.
It's right over my head.
Philosophy terms being used to explain the company.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I had no idea. But what you can tell, even if you don't know, is just how passionate he is about his core mission.
Yep.
And with the passion for his core mission, plus the fact that he doesn't care about other people's opinions too much, he is able to keep the business and the mission at the core of everything he does. He is not, to me, I don't think he's in it just for the money at all. He is in it because he believes in the mission. And you just said about he's got PhD, right, in philosophy.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really interesting because there's not, well, I don't know of any anyway. There's not many CEOs that have that.
There's like none.
None, right? Okay, none.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
No, I couldn't either. And that's interesting because I think that gives him the ability, it brings him different skills, right? It gives him the ability to strategically think about problems. It gives him the ability to rationally be rational and reason with ethics. And we saw this because you'll know this more inside and out than I do. I forget things quite easily. But there was an interview that he did where he said that the AI developments that they're making are so powerful that he's not sure if he wants to sell them to whoever.
Yep.
And if he was just in it for the money and he didn't truly care and he wasn't, ethically reasoning everything that he was doing, he wouldn't have that opinion. He would be after the money. And again, with the skills that PhD brings him, he's able to communicate complex ideas. Whether you understand what he's saying in interviews is a different matter, but he is able to do that. And I think I was trying to look for similarities between himself and Elon at one point. And I think I came across I don't know if it was like a review or like a survey or something like that, where his employees were ranking him. And I think he got like over 70%. So his employees and his staff, they like him as well. So that's always a good sign. What about you? I'm guessing you like him.
So
you're like, no, I hate him.
To answer that question that you just asked me, I can probably show you my screen right there.
Oh, you're a fanboy, Amit. Wow.
She's like, oh, that's creepy. No, I just put it there as a joke. I put it there as a joke to tweet it, and I tweeted it, and then I was like, well, I should probably change this now because the tweet is over, and I just haven't changed it. And my dad saw it the other day. He was like, who the fuck is this? I was like, Dad, don't worry about it. It's okay.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, look, the PhD is really important to me because look, one of the things that's important or interesting about Palantir is their concept of Foundry has an ontology, right? So Foundry is like a modern operating system for your enterprise, and there's this repository of data stored in one place, and they call it the ontology. People don't realize that is a philosophical term. Like you learn about the word ontology, which the definition of it is called the state of being. So like this chair has an ontology for me to sit on it. The goal of the chair, the state of being for the chair is to serve the purpose for me sitting on it. Now, when you talk about an ontological view of your data, it is a state of being of your data, right? The whole point is like, how can we understand and centralize your data to be able to give you insights from it in a meaningful way? They could have called that anything, and they chose the word ontology. And I can't help but think Karp and his PhD in philosophy influences how they're even thinking of the products, right? Calling something Gotham, like it's just a really interesting way to think about it,
Did that word ontology, did that throw you at first? Because I remember reading about Palantir, and that was one of the words I was like, I've never heard this. And when you Google it, and you don't put like, in the context of data or something after that, you do get all this other, philosophy stuff. And that really threw me. I don't know if it was the same with you.
So November 2021, when I started making videos, I heard them talk about ontology. And everyone in my YouTube, we were at like 1,000 subscribers, right? We were very small. They were just like, what the fuck is ontology? And I think I was one of the first people to make a video saying, well, ontology means the state of being. So when he's talking about a data ontology, he's talking about the state of being of your data. And everyone was like, I still don't get it, but I kind of get it. And I just remember that's when I really started getting obsessed with the company, because like, why are they using this philosophical language to talk about business and data? And it's like, it didn't make sense to me, but I really liked it. And as I kept going deeper and deeper, I'm like, oh, these guys think differently. These guys really think differently. And I want to invest in that. It was a little bit
that's
early.
what it takes. Yeah, and that's what it takes to have a successful business, right? We've seen that with. Are you a fan of Tesla and Elon Musk, by the way?
I don't own the stock, but yeah, I love the company and love Elon as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's comparisons to be drawn in that, that aspect as well. You do need to think outside the box. You do need to think differently, or how are you going to be the leading provider in whatever industry you're in?
Right. 100%. Okay. The star of the show is your good old NHS system. So I guess I want to start it off with this. Is it actually as bad as people are saying? Are the wait times ridiculous? Is it really bureaucratic? Do people who have like life-changing surgeries have to wait forever? Like, is it really that bad? And do you really think they need Palantir? And then the follow-up to that is, do you think Palantir is going to get the deal? So give me everything you got on the NHS.
Okay. Before I answer this question, I bought a prop with me today.
Oh, really?
So I have to put on my NHS lanyard to be able to answer this question. All right.
There we go. Did Foxglove didn't buy that for you, right? That's okay.
No, they did not buy this for me. They're nowhere near me. No, I just have friends and family that work in the NHS, so I just happened to have one of these lying around, and I thought.
So I'm sure every British person has friends and family that are in the NHS somehow, right? Because it's just
100%. I reckon everyone in the UK has at least 2 people that are close to them that have either worked in the NHS or still work in the NHS. It's everywhere here, right? It's our bread and butter. So to answer your question with one word, can Palantir, do the NHS need Palantir? The answer is yes, in my opinion. Is the NHS as bad as you guys may think it is? I believe that to be debatable. It's difficult to answer this question because
have you had an experience where you had long wait times or something, or backlogs yourself?
Yeah, I'll talk about them in a sec. But the point is that the NHS is so valued here, and it would be wrong for me to come on here and say that the NHS is awful and it's this and it's that. We are so lucky to have a free healthcare system. Like, for example, if I fell off my chair now because you made me laugh so much and I broke my arm, I could just turn up at the hospital and get that sorted out.
Right.
Granted, I would probably need to wait a long time. I would be sitting there, drinking my drink for about 7 hours with my arm hanging off and saying, it was so funny, I've broken my arm. But I would get it done, and I'd get it done for free. And, I've never experienced anything but that. So I can only imagine and correct me if I'm wrong here, if you're in the US and you don't have insurance and you just simply don't have the money, you can't get the treatment. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, to an extent. Obviously, there's Medicare and Medicaid, and you can go through the government, but it's not a universal free system like the British have at all. No way.
Yeah, and I couldn't imagine the stress that puts on some people and some people's families. So I just want to start the answer by saying the NHS is great. We're very lucky. Now, there are a lot of problems in the NHS, and wait times is one of them. I won't go into detail because it's obviously personal, but my mum's been waiting on, human to human here. My mum's been waiting on something that she needs for a long time, and she's been waiting years. It's not life or death, but if she went private, she would get it done. She could schedule it in for next Wednesday.
Wow.
So unless you're literally dying, you probably will have a wait time. Now, let's say I needed to book an appointment because, I don't know, I'm making it up. I'm getting recurrent stomach problems, whatever. The process of that would be that I would have to go to my local GP, which is my local clinic, if you will, and I would see a general practitioner. So I'd see a GP, and to get that appointment, I would have to, it's a really weird system. I would have to ring up on the day of the appointment. So I would have to start ringing on the phone at 8 a.m. Just that bit of the process, I could be number 26 in the queue.
Right.
So I could be sat on hold for however long, maybe 40 minutes before I got through to the receptionist to say, look, I'm having this issue. I need to see a GP. Then at that point, I would go to the GP surgery and I would see them. And if they decided that I needed to have further tests done, a blood test, a scan, whatever, and this is all free. You don't pay for any of this ever.
Right.
They would then do whatever they do on their systems, which we can absolutely speak about in relation to Palantir. And then I would have to go home Maybe they'll give me some painkillers in the meantime, but I would ultimately have to go home and wait for that letter to arrive. The paper letter would come through the door at some point saying you've got a scan on the 26th of next month. So already you're starting to see that there are a lot of layers to this. It's not just as simple as walking in and getting seen. You don't just ring up and say, I want an appointment tomorrow. Then you might go to your scan and you might need surgery. They might have found something. Whether that surgery is happening in the next 4 months or what, or when, who knows? You know, it can be a long wait.
I recently had to get my neck worked on a little bit, and I called our local place and I got booked for like 2 days later, and I went in and I got checked. And so like I'm just thinking of my own experience versus something like that. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Okay, so I want to know if you agree with this take. Okay, you guys have a socialized healthcare system in a capitalist society. Do you know Ali Abdaal, that YouTuber?
Yeah, I know of him.
He's from the UK. He became a doctor in the NHS and then he quit to like make YouTube videos. And he was, I think he made a video saying he was making like $40,000 a year as a doctor. And in America, that's unheard of. In America, you make like hundreds of thousands.
I know.
You have a lot in debt, right, for med school. But like America, doctors are seen as like the upper class. And so I was really like, I didn't get it. I was like, you spend all this time being a doctor and you're not making any money. But it's because you guys have a different set of values. So this is how I think about what's happening in the NHS. And I want to see if you agree. You guys have a socialized system in a capitalist society.
Yep.
And if you have a socialized system in any free market society, it's going to be less efficient than the free market. That's just objectively true. Like the free market is going to be way more efficient than something that's not having competition be able to create it to be more effective. But those philosophical values that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, what race, what gender, what socioeconomic status, you will get taken care of at some point, even if you have to wait 7 hours. That is a belief, right? That is a belief that UK and a lot of other parts of Europe, they hold on to. And that's a big reason for why you guys have the society that you have. Do you think that if you're going to embrace socialist values for a very complex system and disregard the free market, that then technology has to be the sort of savior to make that socialist system be able to have a chance to compete in terms of efficiencies with the free market, which is how I think of Palantir. I think of them as just like they're coming in to make it more better. They might not fully solve it. It might never be as good as the free market, but you will keep the value, the universal ethic, the ethos of having everyone have healthcare while hopefully being more effective because technology comes in.
Yeah, I think absolutely Palantir can come in and they can help. Like we have a free system and the free system is fantastic, but it can be helped and it can be better. So why wouldn't we want to do that?
Right.
Okay, so if you're someone in the UK that, you know, you're a little bit better off than maybe the average person, you can probably afford to go private sometimes. So again, going back to my example of if I've got stomach pain, I could book a private appointment to have a scan on my stomach. Like it's not, and things like that I've done before. And it would cost me, I don't know, £200 to get that scan. So it's not unheard of that you couldn't do that.
Right.
But again, people can't do that. Not everyone has access to some cash.
Not everyone has £200 to just be able to do that, right? Like it's not the easiest.
Exactly. And when you've got that scan, unless everything's clear, you're then going to need follow-up treatment. And then you're back to the system of the NHS because follow-up treatment privately and getting all that private is going to be really expensive.
Right.
So yeah, I think, well, I can't even remember your question. I've gone off on a tangent now.
No, you basically answered it. My point was just like, if you're going to have a social system because you deeply care about these values, and Alex Karp said, you know, Peter Thiel's like the NHS is a deranged sociopath. And then Alex Karp is like, I wished America cared about poor people the way the NHS does. Then if you're going to if you're going to not stop caring about poor people, which I don't think Rishi Sunak is doing anytime soon, then I feel like that's the bull case for Palantir, because if they can even make it 10% more effective, God forbid they make it like they really fix this shit. Okay, so let's talk about that. If they actually fix the NHS, what do you think that does towards other healthcare systems across the world that are inefficient but still care about providing universal access?
I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going to quickly say, because this came into my mind whilst you were just saying that, if this whole you know, Foxglove and all these concerns about Palantir being a spy company and stealing data, right? I think, and I haven't done this, so this is me just guessing. If I were to go up to my mum or anyone on the street and I was to just say at a very basic level, if I was to word this in two different ways, right? One being, do you want the NHS and their waiting times to get better?
Mm.
Do you want your husband, your child, someone, a loved one that you care about, to have a better experience and get better healthcare quicker? However I worded it, their answer would be absolutely.
Right.
On the flip, and you know how the media are, if you word that same question as, there is an American company that want access to our data, are you okay with that? The answer is going to be no way.
Right.
Because everyone jumps to this idea of Palantir stealing data, spying on our data. And I don't know why this is, Amit. I really don't. But everyone thinks that it means that Palantir are going to be buying the NHS and the NHS is going private because Palantir are going to own it.
That's the conclusion you think people are running to in the UK when they hear this?
Yeah. And I can't really base that on anything apart from what I'm reading online, because I've not gone outside and spoken to people about it. But it does seem to be this fear mongering of they're going to take the NHS private. And that is a big fear that the UK public have, and we always have. We do not want our NHS private. We've always been worried about that. So anytime that something comes into play where that could be a possibility, or you could spin it to be a possibility, people get freaked out.
So you think that's how the media is doing this manipulation? Like they're correlating evil spy tech, Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, Palantir to privatization. And that's scaring a lot of UK citizens, the average one that hasn't done enough research, because obviously they don't want the NHS to go private.
I think so. I think that comes into it. And then the idea of just, this American company that you can't trust having access to your data. And you'll know this by your own research, but in Europe and in the UK is exactly the same. We have a lot more regulations, GDPR. We're very stringent on our regulations. And I think that's drilled into us early on in terms of like, everything must run by the playbook. Data is a big thing. We can't have our data stolen. We can't have it seen by the wrong people, because what could that mean?
Right.
And it's a lack of knowledge. That's what's really sad about it, because actually the people that think this, if they just spent 5 minutes understanding that Palantir is not owning your data, right? They are not stealing your data. They are simply offering a tool to improve your experience. Then you might, and right as well, you can have granular access. You can have all this stuff to stop them from, if you don't want them to see certain parts of data, whatever, you can do that. They're not after just seeing like Jane 52, blood type O, this is what she had for breakfast this morning. Like, they don't care. And I wish people would just do that little bit of due diligence to then make their own decision on whether it's beneficial. And if their answer's no at that point, fine. But I wish they would just do that research.
You got people in the chat saying you're preaching right now. Yeah.
Sorry,
this chat loves you, man. A bunch of people subscribe. They're like, I like her accent. I like what she's got to say. More Palantir. Adam says just subbed her. More Palantir, the better.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, guys.
You guys, please make sure to check out our YouTube channel. I'll put it again in the chat, and it's in the description. So
I just get passionate, I get passionate because we spend so much of our time, and you even more so than me, because I'm still working full time, spend so much of my time trying my best to understand this company. And if just someone spent 5 minutes understanding what their actual interaction is with your data, you might be able to understand that they're not this evil spy company. But I'm going to answer your other question, Amit, because I'll forget. In terms of
if they win the NHS, do you think they can win more? Yeah. So
I'm a bit. I do believe that they will get the contract. I think that at this point they have got enough contracts with different areas of the government in the UK. One recently that I tweeted about, that it makes sense that they're also going to be working with Palantir in the NHS contract. I think that that's sort of a done deal. Only if they are, well, I say they, whoever answers to this contract, right? They are willing to hear the uproar of the British public. And unfortunately, I do think there will be a bit of an uproar. But hopefully what will happen is they will prove how valuable they are. And then the British public will say, oh, do you know what? I have noticed that, my son is getting seen quicker for his regular appointments. This might be that Palantir, And then I think what that's going to do is that's going to install a sense of security that actually they're not using our data for the wrong reasons. And if everything goes well, I think that will then allow them to expand into other healthcare systems in Europe. I'm hoping.
Yeah, like Palantir cannot get the Harry and Meghan treatment by the British press. Because you motherfuckers hate Harry and Meghan. Like, you guys hate, man. I saw the Netflix documentary. You guys do not like Harry and Meghan.
I personally don't. I wouldn't go as far as saying I hate.
But you don't like them. You're not a fan.
To be honest, I don't really know much. I don't really care to do my research into them, so I can't really comment. But yes, I would say you're absolutely spot on there. Most people probably have a bit of a sour feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, the guy's leaving the royal family or whatever. He took his wife. They think the wife's like stealing him. So it's like that, and that media coverage, like the British media runs with it because your media, the tabloids, is a different game in Britain from like what I.
What do you mean different game?
Well, when I saw the documentary on Netflix, it was like the Daily Mail and like the other outlets.
Yeah.
I don't know what motivates them. I don't even think it's the money. I think it's the game of media, because the way the documentary was describing is like they're playing a game with the subjects. The subjects are playing a game with trying to craft the narrative. And like for some reason, the British media just loves this back and forth. And I think one of the reasons why, I might be wrong on this, but Princess Diana died is because she was trying to drive away from a photographer, right? So there's this deep history of hatred back and forth.
It's happened a few times with social media stars. Social media is the right word. Stars that have been on reality TV over here have had media turn on them and, hate on them, and they've sadly taken their own lives because of it. So I think you're right that it's quite intense, but it's what I'm used to seeing. I've not seen the other side of it. So yeah, but I do think, I don't want to say they're twisting it because whatever, but it does seem to be being painted in quite a negative light. I've not really seen any articles come out from a UK perspective saying actually this could be really valuable, apart from, right, and this is interesting, apart from the actual evidence from the previous contract. So with the Chelsea and Westminster Trust, where they reduce waiting times, where they increase the theatre utilisation, that's actual evidence that's been published that shows their value. But people are overlooking that.
Okay, so if I had to ask you to close up the NHS discussion, gun to your head, you don't get bloody shot and have a ton of blood. Does it Palantir get the NHS deal or not?
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say yes. I'm just concerned about the people making those judgment calls being too fearful about the reaction. But I'm going to say they have the best interest of the public at heart. And because of that, yes. And I just don't think that they would have awarded them the, help me out here with my words.
The $30 million transition, the COVID stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think that would have happened because it just doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to say yes. If you had a gun to my head right now, I'd say yes. What about you?
I think they're getting the deal. I mean, I think it's happening. I think there's going to be pushback when they get it, and the NHS is going to have to work with the media. But if they start showing results, like if your mom's cousin starts getting more treatment in weeks versus months, I think it's going to be a really good opportunity for them.
What do you worry if they don't? Like, as an investor into Palantir, how much does that rock your boat? If tomorrow we get the news, on Monday we get the news, Palantir were not awarded the NHS contract, what does that do to your thesis of Palantir? Does it really bother you?
Yeah, it really bothers me because who else did they give it to? Quantexta? They're a fucking random company, no one
knows who they are.
No one knows the fuck. It's if they don't get it, to me, it would be because of politics, not
100%.
And
100%.
So that would lead me to believe if this is a political problem we can't solve, how the hell are we going to work with NATO countries, right? We got to be able to solve this.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I was thinking about it more from, there's lots of other stuff going for them that maybe it doesn't matter too much, but you're absolutely right. It's not a revenue point of view. That's great. It's more, what does this mean for the future? What does this signal to potential future contracts? And yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think it would be the most positive, but let's not worry about that. Let's just keep hoping that it's going to happen. And we're expecting to get, did you see I think it was The Guardian. Did you see the article that they posted?
Yeah, they put out this thing, we're expected to get it soon. So yep.
Yeah, but then it's, who knows if that means anything or they're just saying it. It's got to be soon.
Sashi says Meghan is a Palantir, Harry is Data, them moving to the US is going private. That's hilarious. That's crazy. I love it. Tevis says this man really tried a British accent on a British person. Okay, let me do a British accent. Let me do a British accent real quick and let me rate it 1 through 10. Okay, so let me say, I think Palantir is going to be an incredible company one day.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question for you first, damn it. Why did you become a female in that?
Wait, what? Why is that female? How do you know that's female?
You went so high pitched. Do it in your normal tone. Do it again, but do it in your like normal.
You're right. I did go high pitch. I did go high. Okay. I think Palantir. I can't do it. Like, I think Palantir. I just start sounding like a fucking Texan. I think Palantir. I think Palantir. I think Palantir.
Oh God.
I don't get how to do it without some level of accent raise. Like, how do you just like? I don't.
Let's think of a word that I would say very differently to you. What would you?
Water. How do you say water?
Water.
Okay, so I say water.
Water. Water.
So you say water. Okay, so I'm gonna try. So water.
I am getting my drink of water.
I am getting my drink of water. See, the rest of it sounds like I'm from Texas, and then you get this water. Versus, I'm getting my drink from water. You see, when I raise my voice, it like.
Wow, yeah, you could. Okay, I rate you a 7. Room for improvement, but decent.
So, you know, when people pick the number 7, fun fact, it's because they don't want to go 8, which is closer to 10, and they don't want to go 6, which is closer to 5. So 7 is like a you know, it's in the middle. You kind of don't have to have an opinion. So you basically copped out of giving an actual answer.
Okay, I'm gonna push you up then. You get an 8, and I'm going to take my NHS.
Now you're lying. You should go to 6 because I know you're lying.
I feel like I am a receptionist working in a doctor's surgery or like a doctor with that on, so that's coming off now. But good prop.
Okay, defense. Obviously, a lot of stuff is happening geopolitically: Russia, Ukraine, and now Israel, Hamas. Do you think Palantir can play a massive role for defense over the next couple of decades? And if so, how do you think they could play a role?
Yeah, I think everything that's happening, like first and foremost, it's absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? Palantir have already been very involved in defense and they've already proven very, very useful. And unfortunately, it seems like as time goes on, there is a heightened need for intelligence and capabilities, you know, on the battlefield in that area. Sad, but I think that just is the way. And I saw a tweet that you put out actually, and I'll let you speak for yourself on this, but you were speaking about like about Palantir like almost profiting off defense and how it's not like that, because I forgot exactly, but I remember reading that and I thought, yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah, the argument was like bad stuff is happening, so they're not trying to cause a war, but if it's happening, if they can help solve it, then why not?
Right? Why not? And yeah, and you were saying how you could argue that any industry is actually negative if you take that spin on it.
Yeah. If you invest in Tesla, people in the gas industry are losing their jobs, which means, you know, are they unethical because people lose their jobs because EVs start increasing? So I think it's hard to call them the evil company that's profiting off of defense without recognizing that there's bad shit going on in the world.
Yeah, and they're not trying to make it worse. They're trying to help with these bad situations. I mean, depending on who they're helping is obviously who, you know, making it worse for the other people. But yeah, absolutely. I think that they are going to have a massive role in defense moving forward. They've already proven very, 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 very valuable in that area. And I think they'll continue to get more contracts. And I would advise that everyone goes, and I think they're on the Palantir website, but I could be wrong. There's like videos of how Palantir are being like valuable on the actual battlefield. So it shows, I think it's on the website, but basically the idea that soldiers are wearing these sensors and, you know, whatever, and then that's feeding back and they're able to make real world decisions at that minute and deploy what they need to deploy. And they're offering solutions for defense problems that actually is going to give the competitive edge. And they're doing the same in commercial, right? I'm getting minced on my words here, but they're making it so that whoever they're working with has that competitive edge. Yeah.
And I think on Gotham, they were showing a year ago the South China Sea example. It was a fake example, but they were just showing what it would be like if there were ships coming in and all that stuff. And so, yeah, look, I think defense can be really big for them. Obviously, I think the more geopolitical conflicts we have, I think that's why we got the premium this week. It jumped to $17, just like Lockheed Martin went up because the market thought there would be more demand for it. And yeah, defense is going to be big going forward. I want to go ahead.
I was just going to say, what now that they've sort of pledged their alliance, shown their support to Israel, what do you think is going to happen there? Do you think we're going to hear that they're working with them directly?
I don't know. I mean, look, I think they needed to do that. They definitely were not going to pick Hamas. So like, I think a company like them, they have to take a stance. It's kind of makes no sense to say freedom, Western valuable, and then you don't pick a stance. That doesn't mean I think they agree with everything Israel's doing, but they do agree with the general ethos of it. If we're going to get more defense contracts because of what's going on, I don't know. And I think the market gave them a premium because they think that's going to happen. Just like the market gave Lockheed Martin a premium because they think they're going to have to make more guns. But we don't know if we're actually going to have to, procure more software to clients. So we will see, I guess, in the next couple quarters.
Yeah. And how is that going to work? Because, okay, explain this to me, because this is an area that I'm not quite clicking with. With the commercial side, there is essentially, I'm going to say infinite, like it's probably not infinite, but there's essentially so many businesses that you can work with. And from a revenue point of view and from a total addressable market point of view, amazing. On the defense side, the defense government side, it's limited, right? Because ultimately Palantir are not going to be signing contracts with every single non-Western, Western, whatever in the world. So it's a limited area.
It's limited. From what the research I've done, it's about $120 billion TAM, whereas commercial Karp says is like $1 trillion TAM.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many NATO countries there are, but every NATO country is a client. And then every NATO country has a ton of subdivisions and government subsidiaries, just like the United States has like the IRS and the DOD and Army, military, etc. And so there is a very big market, and to capture a $100 billion TAM will take a decade, if not more, right, to be able to get all that. And then on top of that, you constantly upsell them on new defense products so that are software based, even if there's nothing bad happening in the world, off the fear. Like, for example, Lithuania, Poland, all these Baltic states, they're afraid if Russia wins Ukraine, they're going to come invade them. And so that's why Palantir created a regional tech hub in Lithuania. So you would argue that Lithuania probably has billions of dollars over the next couple of years to give to Palantir, and that's one country. And so for us as investors at a $30 billion market cap, there's the upside for us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Tim says, I think I could hear her talk all day.
See, it makes me blush when people say this. I see a lot of comments about my voice, but I don't really understand why. But I take it.
In the United States, it's this weird thing. Like, I think British accents and Australian accents for us, it's just so unique,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's defense. I think we got like one more. Oh yes. So AI, LLMs, AIP. I guess, do you have an opinion? Do you think AIP can be really big? Or are you still trying to understand more about it? And kind of where do you think the LLM revolution goes in the context of Palantir?
Yeah, I think that there is potential that AIP will be the biggest area contributing to their growth. Now we've just I don't know when these started actually, but the AIP boot camps, when did they start? Is that very recently, or is that
I think a month ago, to be honest.
Yeah,
last
really.
month they said they were really good.
Yeah. I've only just put out a video about it because that's when it sort of came to light for me, but I didn't know if it was happening behind the scenes for longer than that. So I think that it's clear that they've got a go-to market strategy. They're doing what they can, and there's obviously demand increasing for them. We'll see the evidence of this, right? But from what we've heard and what we can tell, the demand is there. I think it's going to depend now on how they capture that demand, how they scale that demand, and more importantly, how they monetize that moving forward.
Right.
And I don't know if you see both sides to this argument, but I do see a lot of people saying, they're not monetizing AIP. This is really bad from a business point of view. But it's clear why they're doing that to me, in terms of getting the customer in, proving their value. And at some point they will be able to switch that on, and the customer won't really say, you know what, don't worry about it. They're in there and they're integrated. They're seeing the value, they want to carry on. So it makes sense to me, but do you see the other side of it as well? Do you worry about that?
I think it's a fear if in the next 6 to 8 months, we can't see monetization coming from AIP. I actually really like that they're going for basically customer count over revenue growth, because
I like that as well.
If you had 1,000 customers that you could turn on the squigget one day, and then, start getting the revenue. I don't even know if that's a real word, to be honest. Then that starts printing, then that'll be awesome. But I think we got to give them to June 2024 to do this, to see the revenue growth. But if around that time we're still stuck at 12%, 13%, then there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think you've got to you've as an investor, just in general, really, not just about Palantir, but with any investment that you make, if you're investing for the long term and you're in growth investing, you do have to take the chance, right? You do have to say, actually, you know what? I can see where this is going, and I can see how valuable this could be if they nail it. And I will be patient, and I'll wait, and I'll understand their strategy until that point comes. Because I bet Tesla in 2011, whatever, people were seeing, okay, this could be big. This, the evidence is there, but everyone's telling me it could be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But they stuck by their guns. They did their research, they did their due diligence, they had their conviction, and it paid off. And I think that's going to be, I hope that's what my research is telling me, that it's going to be a similar story for Palantir. And if you look at the likes of like Salesforce, did you hear my belly rumble then?
I did hear your belly rumble. I did hear it a little bit. It was a small little rumble, but it was there. I heard the belly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my belly rumbled. It's nearly 6 o'clock here, so it's obviously telling me that it's nearly my dinner time.
Time for you to eat some fish and chips, correct?
Oh, I'd love fish and chips. I would absolutely.
I know about the UK, bro. I'm cultured. I'm not an uncultured swine. I understand.
Amit, come over here and we'll have fish and chips and we'll talk about Palantir.
Okay, I'm down. We'll do it.
But yeah, if you look at Salesforce, which is essentially, offering a CRM, which pretty much I use Salesforce at work every day. Very, very valuable, very useful. Their market cap is a lot bigger than Palantir's. But actually, I would now argue that Palantir are sort of like the next stepping stone, because what Palantir are offering is the option to understand your data and to utilize your data.
Right.
So that other companies, right, okay, they can store your data, they can manage your data, you can make updates to your data. Fantastic. Like, that is useful. But Palantir are the next step, where they say, actually, we will tell you insights into your data in an understandable way for both the technical and, layperson. And then based on that information that we're giving you, we can even like run through some scenarios, and you can make the best decisions for your business based on your data.
Right.
So with that in mind, and with AIP in mind, and with Salesforce market cap, I do see the potential for Palantir to really grow.
Yeah. And I think, look, that's we'll do last two questions. We'll do a bear case question, but I want to ask this case before the bear case. Do you kind of like taking that risk? Like, I know you started with dividends and ETFs. Does it give you some anxiety to be like, man, I'm investing in this barely profitable company. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Or do you kind of think like, this is what I have to do to create generational wealth?
Right. So I'll just set the scene here. As a person, I am not really a risk taker. I wouldn't say I'm very, I'd say I'm probably against risk slightly more than the average person. Like, I've always been someone that will save my money, that will do the right thing. Like, I'm not going to go out and spend all my money. Finances and just life in general, I'm not a massive risk taker. But I would say on this, in the same breath, I don't feel like I'm taking that much of a risk with my portfolio. I wouldn't. I would say that I would feel more risky at this point not putting money into Tesla and Palantir than if that seems more of the risky option to not do that.
Right. Because the conviction is high around them.
Exactly. And like you just said, I my portfolio is very small compared to a lot of people. I've recently started and I'm just doing what I can. I hope one day it becomes a big portfolio, but at the moment it's not that big. But I do have the aim to create generational wealth through my portfolio. And in order to do that, you've got to take a risk. I'm not going to get to where I want to be by not betting on the companies that have that potential growth. So
for someone who's not a risk taker, you got 9,000 subscribers on YouTube. You put out videos. Like, you definitely take a risk putting yourself out there, right? What made you take that risk, I guess?
What I will say is starting my YouTube channel was the most non-Hayley thing that I could ever do.
Wow. Like, your friends know about it? No, they don't know. They don't know.
Some people know about it, but like, I haven't told my parents.
Wow. Your parents don't know?
No, I always said to myself, I'll tell them when I hit 10K, and that's coming.
And so one day you're just going to text them, be like, hey, mom and dad, 10,000 people know who I am.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, do they have your data? I'm going to say, I hope not, but they've seen my portfolio. So who knows? it's a very unlike me thing to do. I don't like being the center of attention. I don't enjoy that at all. But what I it's really weird. Like, I got to the point where all this obsession with investing was coming in, and I was kind of like thinking about my life and thinking about death and all this stuff. And I was just like, I
Now
need
we're
to do,
talking. Here we go.
oh God. And I was starting to wonder, like, I need to push myself outside of my comfort zone. What would be the thing that really makes me uncomfortable? And it would be having eyes on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just said, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And I really like it now, but it still gives me, like I was saying before we started this live stream, I still get nerves.
This is like your
Just
first
because,
live ever, right?
no, no, no. I've done lives before, but every single time I'm really anxious
You're super
before.
nervous. Got you.
But you've made me feel really comfortable. So I appreciate that. I always get nervous because it's just not who I am, but I'm just trying to keep going to get more confident.
Yeah, I think it's about, I live stream a lot. The audience will probably know. So I've just started having a fun relationship with it and enjoying it. But
Mm.
you're 27 now. You started becoming conscious of your mortality, of the inevitable bloody end to your life. And so you realized, holy crap, like, maybe you love your project manager job, but I'm assuming you're not finding as much fulfillment in that job as you would want. And so that's what triggered you to start the YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just a deep thinker in general. Like everything that, okay, this is going to sound really nerdy, but I just love learning about things. And I
Mm.
love sitting there and thinking about things in depth. And I would quite happily sit and stare at a wall for like half an hour and just think about stuff. Like I'm just
Wait, you
that
stare at a
person.
what and think about stuff?
Just a wall, a blank wall.
Oh, a wall. I thought you
What
said
did you
wolf.
think I said?
You said
A
wolf.
wolf?
I was like, wall. Yeah, you did. The A was like a O to me. I was like, wolf, wall. Okay, go ahead.
I would not sit and stare at a wolf and think about stuff. I would
I was like,
try
that
my
would be a
best
little.
to run. Yeah, I do love my job, but equally my passion is in to like, learning about investing and talking about that and trying to help other people. I would love more young people to be able to think that investing is something that they can do. And I would really, really love women to
Yeah.
start thinking that they can invest. And it is becoming more common for sure. But it does seem still like a bit of there's more male YouTubers talking about finances.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely male dominated. And I mean, the thing about friends is like, I have friends and I try to talk to them about investing. They don't want to hear it. They don't,
No.
they want to go to the pub and get a drink, right? They don't care about, see, I know every fucking word, bro. I got
Yeah,
this.
you do. You're good. You're impressive.
But they don't want to learn about it. And in my head, I'm like, bro, this is like, you can change your life. You can
I
become
know.
independent and you don't care. And it's like, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming your friends feel the same. They just don't care that much. And you're on this island. And YouTube is basically a community where you have other
Yeah.
people that have similar interests at that point.
And we're in a niche, aren't we? So we feel like everyone and their uncles must be investing in Palantir. But actually, when you look at your real life friends that you can physically touch, they're not. And I had a conversation with one of my friends, and they don't know about YouTube, whatever. And we were talking about investing. And I remember her distinctively saying, "Oh, I don't know, because it's just risky, isn't it? I wouldn't want to lose all my money."
Mm.
And I think that statement right there is what stops most people, because we don't get taught in school. Why would we? People,
Yeah.
this will get a lot deeper conversation, but ultimately, people don't want you to be financially independent. They
Yeah.
want you
They
to pay
want
your
you
taxes,
100%. Yeah.
etc., etc. But yeah, I think once people reframe it in their head, that actually, I would sit here and say it's way more risky not to invest. Way more risky, depending
Yeah.
on what you're investing in.
Yeah. And thinking from the death perspective, it's like, not only am I going to die one day, therefore I want to make money, and like a salary at the end of the day is just not the best way to really compound your wealth. So that's a reason to invest. Like, death is motivated from that perspective. And then the content creation side, but like if more people know about you in the world, you have more opportunities. I've seen this with this YouTube channel and Twitter. Like, if people know who you are, you can actually do things in a different way. And everyone, whether it's a politician or, someone trying to build a personal brand, you have to get people's attention. If you can do that, that just means you have a little bit more of a fulfilling life before you die, because you might actually be able to do things that are different than other people.
Yeah, I would love one day to be invited to like a radio show or a TV show to talk about investing for young
Right.
people. That would be so cool. But yeah, you're right. It opens up doors. And my channel is very, very small at the moment in the grand scheme of things, but it's exciting. And more than anything, I just love building the community. I've got a question for you, actually. Do you get many comments of people saying that you shouldn't be investing into Palantir because of X, Y, and Z? Like, do you see many of them comments, or are most people very pro Palantir?
There's definitely a bias in my comments because people are Palantir shareholders, I'm sure, in this chat as well, right? So they wouldn't like actively be like, oh, don't invest in it. But there are tons of random people that come. So there was a point, Hayley, you weren't here around this time, but I think people in the chat will remember. There was a point in March through, I would say, June of 2022, where Palantir stock had collapsed $6, $7, $8, really till October 2022. And there were these certain channels on YouTube. I'll just name them. One was called Echoes from Above. One was called Strongman Personal Finance. You might have never heard of these channels. And every day, 4 times a day, I am not exaggerating, they made a video using my face in the thumbnail, using other Palantir community people's face in the thumbnail, saying that Palantir is the stupidest stock. It's the dumbest in the world, blah, 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 blah. And they basically got tons and tons of views because the stock was at 6, right? And it fell from 45, saying that Palantir sucks. And so for a better half of, I would say 8, 9 months, all of us were just getting all of this hate kind of from that, because their viewers would come to my videos and I would just be doing a breakdown of Palantir's latest partnership, nothing to do with the stock, right? Just trying to understand it, even though the stock's at 7. And they would be like, blah, 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 just talking. Then the stock goes up and all of them shut the fuck up. Right? Because you can't say anything anymore, right? And so it's just, and I knew this was going to happen. I didn't know Palantir was going to go up 150% this year. I did not know that was going to happen, but I did know that eventually if the company performs, the market will reward them. And these guys that are losers complaining about a stock all day because they get off on hatred or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know.
And you came at a time where Palantir is doing kind of well. So, but if we go back to 6 again, be ready for the comments. But I don't think we're getting there. So, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm still learning to deal with that. But as long as you understand why you're investing, like ultimately it's your money and you should put it where it makes most sense to. But yeah, interesting to see. I like to see what people's arguments are against the company, because if someone's got a legit reason, I will go and research that, because ultimately I want to be non-biased, right? I want to invest into the company because I really truly have conviction. So I'll always research if someone's got a legit concern about it. But most of the time, it is either about them stealing data or it's just Palantir's a hype stock.
Yeah. And to me, I'm like, you're damn right it's a hype stock, and that's good. Like Tesla's a hype stock. Look at what happened. People actually care about it. You want to fucking talk about NIO all day, or General Motors, or like Coca-Cola, right? So what is your bear case for Palantir?
I guess it would be that they don't capture and scale AIP in the way that I think that I want them to. Maybe they don't get the NHS contract, but I think there's a Palantir after not getting the NHS contract. So I don't know how bearish that makes me.
So basically your bear case is because the revenue growth right now kind of sucks, right? So your argument is if that doesn't increase because AIP is not monetized, then we'll be in a tough situation. Yeah.
But I don't know if you've got anything to add to that about the bear case. I'm feeling good and I'm feeling excited, and we're seeing information come out all the time. We're seeing new contracts, and I don't think that there would be so many contracts popping up all the time and renewals of previous contracts if it wasn't going well and if they weren't providing value. And this is another thought that I'm just having. They're one of the 3 companies that have, what is it, IL6 clearance?
Yep.
That's a good sign. Bearish, like bullish on that. Like there's so many things that build into the case of being bullish on this company that the downside to me is just potential ifs and buts.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to happen because of all the other evidence. We get, there's going to be some contracts that we don't get. Happens. But if we can capture even like a bit of the total addressable market on both sides, commercial and government, the growth's there, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest bear case is the lack of AIP revenue monetization and the macro. Maybe we do end up in a really shitty 2024.
Yeah.
And that
but that's short term. Like let's say the macro is awful, but you're investing into Palantir for the next 20 years.
Right.
You're going to see that across the board. You wouldn't be able to pick a stock that really would not be impacted some way.
Last question for you. Any thoughts on Cathie Wood? She's a big Palantir investor. Do you follow her? Do you care about her at all?
I like that. I like Cathie Woods because she's a female investor. So yeah, hats off to her. That's great. I wouldn't say I follow her too much. I see that she buys and sells Palantir and Tesla and some other companies quite often. And I think that she gets a lot of stick for that because, people are saying why is she buying, why is she selling. It's constant. But she is also doing that for a reason. She's managing funds for other people. Therefore, she's going to be buying and selling. She's not going to be holding the same companies for a long time. She's going to be rebalancing the portfolios. Like, it makes sense. I think that some trades have been questionable. Like,
yeah, Roku is fucking stupid, but
yeah, there you go. And you said it. See, I'm a little bit more passive. I'm a bit more like, I'm going to talk around this, and I think that some times that she's sold haven't really made much sense. But all in all, I don't mind her. I wouldn't say I have a strong opinion that I dislike or love her, but I think it's really cool that she's managing loads of money.
Yeah, I mean, she's back in Palantir, so I love Cathie Wood. She's a good.
And she likes Tesla. She loves Tesla. ARK Invest is one of the companies that I think truly understand Palantir and Tesla. And there's not many.
Yeah. And look, I mean, she understood Tesla with Ross Gerber, I think 7, 8 years ago before the market did, and they 20x'd. There were even more than that. So hopefully we have that relationship. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I like the fact that they are so pro technology and pro AI. And a lot of Wall Street, they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Unless they see the numbers, they don't get it. Unless they see the growth and the revenue literally in black and white, they're like, no, robotaxi is not going to be a thing. Palantir don't have a real AI product, whatever the argument is. So I like that about them as well.
All right. Hayley's YouTube is in the chat. Please make sure to follow her. Last question for you, Hayley. Let's do it on YouTube. You're at 9,000 something subs. Probably going to get to 10,000 soon. So what is your hope for this YouTube channel, for your journey as a content creator, for your journey talking about Palantir? What do you want this to be like in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. It's one I think about all the time as well, as I'm sure you do.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Jesus. Okay. How long you got?
Go ahead. Whatever you got.
Yeah, we'll keep it to the YouTube situation. I would love to be someone that encourages people to invest. I would love to be someone that encourages people to want their financial future to be better, no matter what their current situation. Because I've not come from a rich family, and my portfolio is not massive, but what I have been able to do is actually get myself a decent portfolio in just a couple of years. And I'm really proud of that. And I'd love for someone else to, even one person, to view my channel and just say, you know what, she's relatable, whatever. I would like to start learning about investing and I can do it too. That would be where I want to get to. In terms of the channel and numbers and all of this, I'm really happy of where it's at. I love the community over there. Every time I receive a nice comment saying, love your videos, you've taught me this, or I'm looking into this because of you, you've motivated me, like, it's honestly fantastic.
Yeah, 9,000 subscribers is not easy. Like, don't underplay that. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, and I'm really, really chuffed. Honestly, I'm really proud, and I'm just going to continue. I'm going to keep researching what I'm interested in, Palantir, Tesla, investing in general. I'm going to share it. I'm going to carry on learning as I go. And I would be lying if I sat here and said I wouldn't love that to be my full-time job. Of course I would. It is literally my biggest passion. I wake up every day way before I start work. I work on learning, I work on research, and I work on videos. I go to work, 9 till 5, whatever. Then I come home from work. I work from home, so that's a lie. I'm at home. I finish work and I go again until the evening, and it's constant. And that's exactly how I want it to be. So I would love for it to become full-time at some point. Not there yet, but in the meantime, I'm just happy with what I'm doing. It's
the journey.
Exactly.
It's a fun journey.
It's fun.
I love it. Thank you, Hayley, for joining me. This was awesome. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future. Everyone, please make sure to check out her Twitter and YouTube in the description. And we will hear from her later. And make sure you check out some of her videos.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.